Hey, Nation, Harry here, back with Michael Fraser, Refractor, going around the horn with our monthly chit chats with our analysts. And Michael, before we get going, over on screen number 2, I have your website up and your crawler, as we say at CNN or MSNBC, but your crawler, dude, you've got more stuff going on and more awards. It just keeps going. Congratulations. Look at that.
Thanks, and not to toot our horn, but there's some more coming as well. So yeah, we're think we're doing the right things. People are noticing us, and yeah, it's been pretty awesome as of late.
You've certainly paid your dues. Well, sir, I want to talk about the economics. We've had talks over the past couple of months with our analysts about the public health crisis, and quite frankly, I think we've got that covered. You know, we've had that talk. So let's talk about the economics. And you, a long time ago, were kind of raising the alarm and sounding the, initiating a dialogue with the MSPs that they've got to start changing their business models. You were leading the parade on that. So let's kind of revisit that. What have you been preaching to the MSPs for the past couple of years vis-a-vis your business model at Refractor?
Yeah, absolutely. So, back when I first started on this journey talking about the public cloud, and generally speaking, as IT is going from being racked and stacked in traditional, infrastructure to this more of this abstraction layer where infrastructure becomes code and configuration and security. And, we have this everything as a service business model happening, and with that means that everything's accessible via APIs. But the problem there is that everything has to be solutions have to be created for this future state or even current state of organizations, not just moving to the public cloud, but really figuring out how to move to this future state that I call IT as code. And so we're really finding out now with this current COVID-19 and generally speaking that a lot of companies are very concerned about their long-term existence, and a lot of these companies and MSPs as well. And there really hasn't been a lot of time and attention put towards, and a lot of MSPs put towards figuring this out and listening and not being complacent and saying, well, it's fine. Customers are paying for this and it should be fine, as well as from a lot of the large vendors from the space who have put a lot of emphasis on buy more SKUs of my product offerings, do more with what I have out there, dial in your sales process, dial in your business processes. But when it comes to the technical side of what MSPs really need to be doing to get to this future state where we're talking about like infrastructure becoming code and the cloud providers, or even just generally wherever it is for the customer, and being able to repeat the solutions as opposed to throwing manpower at it. Because the other issue that's just really coming to the surface now, even with the massive unemployment that's happening, is we still have a major shortage of tech talent. And if MSPs aren't able to pick up on this and able to deliver to their customers for this future state and what they need, a lot of other organizations are looking. I mean, you're seeing a lot of consolidations happening from MSPs all converging together. So you get these larger MSPs that are coming together, and they have a lot of money. They're being bought up by private equity, and they're looking and going, well, I could put a lot of money into this, and maybe I'll start doing these type of things, like figuring out what could be automated and doing things that take a lot of money and engineering effort, and they have the funds to do it. The smaller MSPs really have to be cognizant about how do I go about to get to this future state? How do I go about leveraging existing tools? And the unfortunate thing is that a lot of the vendors in the space haven't actually been providing any ways for them to get there. So it's just like, hey, MSP, you're on your own. And so I'm working with a lot of different cybersecurity vendors in the space where we're looking at like, hey, you're providing all this automation content for a customer to get into the public cloud. A good example is Fortinet, where they have, infrastructure as code via Terraform configurations. They have Ansible playbooks to do configuration. These tools are not what a typical MSP is going to be using. So how do you expect an MSP to go out there, pick up a Git repo and go, okay, now I'm going to take all this content and run this against these other systems and build these automation pipelines? Not going to happen. And so, my philosophy now is really, I'm enabling vendors to help the broader community to be able to get them in to time to value to some of the stuff vendors have created. So Fortinet's a good example of actually creating content, but there's a lot of other vendors out there in the space that have not created any content to help in any capacity from an automation standpoint, other than in the existing RMM offering. So we're talking about proprietary scripting inside of a proprietary system. And the world is now very much about being open source, very much about being communities, and very much about automating a lot of other things than just scripts on a box, right? And so the broader community, the ConnectWises, the Kaseya's, the Autotasks, or Datos, whatever of the world, really have to get on board with being able to empower MSPs to get to this future state that I call IT as code. And if they're not in and they're not helping these MSPs to get there, these MSPs are just going to be left on their own little islands and die out. And unfortunately, that's the current state of affairs we're in, because they don't have the luxury of being able to be PE funded and waiting this out and being able to they don't, a lot of them are applying for PPP and not even getting, the money from that, because larger companies are getting it too. So I think it's just this issue now where there's no choice. You have to adapt. You're going to have to get to this future state of IT as code, or larger organizations are going to swoop in and start providing services and services to the SMB market specifically, and it's really going to cut out the existing MSPs now. So that's kind of my, that's my standing on a soapbox stance. But I think now everything's just coming to the forefront, and vendors really need to be helping out the MSP community, because it's gonna cause them issues, major issues, if MSPs start having to fold because they're not able to make the same revenues to even support themselves.
No, we've been talking to you for I believe about 2 years. Thank you for your time.
Yep.
And each month, and you basically have just brought together about 2 years of conversation. You've kind of integrated it. And I'll end on this. There's not a lot I can add to what you say, but I can tell you this. We recently did one of our webinars for a sponsor, and they brought in one of the rotating sharks on Shark Tank. Not one of the 5 main, but number 6. Yeah, they rotate them. And Matt Higgins, and of course, smart guy and an investor and all that. And he said it best, and sometimes I just need to hear it, from someone, but basically cash is king right now, right? This is about survival. This is about cash is king. And then the good news is, on the other side of all this, it's last man standing. Forget the gender reference, but last man standing. So Michael, the point is if you can either innovate your way out of this, or you have cash reserves, if you're the last man standing, you're going to do fairly well on the other side of this. And hey, there's a family member behind you.
Yep. Hi. We're on camera.
We're keeping it real, man. And the new paradigm TV.
You smile. Say hi. Say hi to the audience.
There we go. Right. All right, Mike. Hey, I'll let you run. We'll see you next month, man. Keep up the good work, and we want to hear more about the government contracts next month that you're working on. Okay?
Yeah, we'll talk more about the Air Force. Awesome. Thanks, Harry.
All right. Take care.